Eno jawunyedda President Kyagulanyi Ssentamu Robert Bobi Wine afa essanyu enseko zimutta awulira ayabika akutuka anti General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni toto kajiko na tabula kajiko na sukali ebigambo byasobaganye dda EU European Union World Bank koteka koti ensio na ICC Kyagulanyi omusajja yamusibaga yenna bwati namulipa akalipo byonna byasibaga ate no balero bivuddeyo nga olutalo luliwo lwakulaba nga European Union teddamu kuwa Museveni sente European Union kwata Museveni wali nye chikwere bwachiti mu nsi yonna ya Europe nga akwatibwa bukwatibwa mu ICC anti omusango Kyagulanyi gwe yateekayo atoloza tebyatabusedda tugende gwe kakana katambira balaba video tuve wano anti tutandise olutalo lwakwejjako nakyemalira
institutions. That is the EU Council, the EU Commission, and the EU Parliament. But above all, we want to create dialogue with the citizens of the EU, because these are the people these are the taxpayers whose money is used to fund the different programs. So we really want to articulate these issues to them so they know what is happening in Uganda. Ladies and gentlemen, the human rights situation in Uganda is just deteriorating. According to the recent reports, in particular the Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, the US State Department country report, in particular the 2023 report, they report an upsurge in abductions and enforced disappearances. Not just that, unlawful detentions abound. And as I speak, many people have been abducted. So the purpose of this discussion today is to highlight the issue of abductions. In particular, we want to focus on our comrade, Faustin Masaba, who was abducted 3 weeks ago while on holiday in Uganda. But this case is not just about Masaba. We have Mumbia, who has also been abducted. Mumbia is a full surgeon. But also, ladies and gentlemen, lest we forget, we have the abducted 18, whose story has been told on this channel. And we continue to propagate for their release or for their production. But this is even just the tip of the iceberg. The people who have been abducted to date, according to our database, which we've gathered, is close to 3,000 Ugandans, and these are reported cases. There are many others. There are many other cases that we do not know about. So it is a very serious matter. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce I would like our panelists to introduce themselves. Over to you, comrades. Let's start with Robert Gitunzi. Please, over to you, Robert. Please introduce yourself. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe, for the wonderful introduction. The names are Robert Gitunzi. I'm based out of Stockholm, Sweden. I'm a Muganda and a Ugandan by that. And I'm leading and coordinating activities of the NUP in Europe. Good morning, good afternoon to all our viewers. Thanks.
Thank you for that introduction. Let's get over to Comrade Hafuzi Mugisha. Please, Comrade, introduce yourself. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, good evening to comrades out there on Olujuliro, on JB Mumonge, and on our channel. By names of Mugisha Hafizu, as I've been introduced by Comrade Joe, and I'm apparently the vice chairman, vicing Comrade Chitunzi in coordinating the issues of the National Unity Platform in Europe. I'm very happy and delighted to be here today to discuss issues of freedom for our comrades Masaba, Faustin, and all other comrades back home. I thank you. Back to you, Comrade Joe.
Thank you, Comrade, for that introduction. Let me introduce our third panelist, who is running late for different reasons. None other than Comrade Alex Waiswa, who is also a deputy spokesman for the National Unity Platform. He'll be joining us shortly. But as we wait, we are beginning with our first question. There has been an upsurge in human rights violations, in particular abductions, enforced disappearances, torture, and killings. However, today, the focus is on abductions, in particular, the recent abduction of Comrade Faustin Masaba. Those of you who might know, Comrade Faustin Masaba has been around from the time of the inception of our revolution. He has done a great work, but we really want to, I think, get to know Comrade Masaba a little more. So who is Comrade Masaba? Comrade Robert Kitunzi, please, may you take that question and tell us who really Comrade Faustin Masaba is.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to do him justice, but he's a very interesting character. I would say he's a true epitome of a patriot, a political activist, a gentleman who hails from Bali, the Bugishu land. He has his country at heart. You could call him a blogger, a political blogger, an analyst, an educator, a very passionate person to the cause of seeing change for our country. So, yeah, I don't know whether I've done him justice, but we should, as Ugandans and friends of Ugandans, stand for him. Why? He's done a lot. He's been there for everyone. Tweeting. He has a Twitter warrior group. He's always on the case whether it concerns injustice of anyone in Uganda. So, comrades, that is your gentleman. We need to see that justice served. He was abducted for whatever reasons. We hear that he's being accused of burning a market, which is pretty appalling. For someone who's been working in the Middle East for the time he's been there, to come to Uganda to accuse him of burning a market is ridiculous. So it's really preposterous and very, very, very unprofessional and very disturbing. So, comrades, those in the struggle and those who want justice to be served, stand with Masaba, whether on Twitter, whether on our upcoming demonstrations. Speaking of the upcoming demonstrations, next Friday on the 17th, during lunch hours in Europe, in Stockholm, in Geneva, in Copenhagen, in Munich, in Paris, we want to have a good, resounding demonstration calling for justice to be served to Masaba. Masaba went to Uganda as any normal citizens, and it was picked up. Yeah? So that's not the way you treat your citizens, General Museveni. We want for you to unconditionally release Faustin Masaba. Thanks.
Thank you very much. And that pretty much sums up who Masaba is. He's really the postcard activist who's done a lot of work, and of course he's a recognizable face. And Robert, some people might argue that Masaba, knowing that he was high profile, and actually people are saying, why did he go home? Is there a justification in that remark? What do you say? What do you think?
Well, it's actually very laughable for someone to come up with that kind of statement. I think it is disturbing. I mean, who is Masaba? Masaba, just because he's a in opposition and is trying to advocate for change or justice, does not rid him of his liberty of movement. Okay? So you can't be a hostage in your own country. So it's inconceivable. Someone will say, "Oh, why did he go back to Uganda yet he knows the impunity there?" No. So I think it is really good that he went there. Yeah, and this pretty much sends a message to the development partners that this is the gentleman you're dealing with. This is a person who can really just pick up anyone just because he's has a different ideological um, mindset. So I think it is very ridiculous for someone saying that I shouldn't go to Uganda because General Museveni is going to pick me at the airport. He's going to kill my family. You name it, whatever impunity there is, which we're used to right now. But we're not going to stop. So anyone who's asking why he went, he's a Ugandan and he deserves to go for his holiday, not to be charged for burning down a market, which probably is never even seen. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Comrade Robert. You actually answered that question. And I really think we need to bring this to the attention of the development partners. The Ugandans are citizens, first of all, and they're patriots, and they have a civic duty to defend the constitution, to defend their country. So when they're exercising their rights in articulating issues, be it democratic issues or issues of national importance, they have every right, and no one should be hunted down. And this has become, I think, there is a pattern. You remember, Comrade Mayanja went and he was abducted, and many others. So we're not going to allow this to be a precedent. Ugandans are citizens. Ugandans are nationals who have the freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, and they should, as and when they want, go home when they want to go home. So the development partners must bring pressure to bear on the dictator Museveni to stop abducting, to stop intimidating. This is actually, the strategy is to intimidate, to cower us into silence. But I think we remain defiant. We are going to speak out, and we're going to go home as and when we want. Thank you very much for that. Yes, Comrade Alex Waiswa, I welcome you. And just as we were concluding the first part about Comrade Masaba. So we've spoken about abductions that are really that are on the increase, and in particular today we are talking about Masaba. But can you describe a typical scenario of an abduction to give us a sense of violence that is meted on the victims, and what happens in the dungeons, which has our comrade Masaba gone through? We know that he was tortured, we know that he was beaten, and this is not an exception. So what exactly happens there? Who are the perpetrators of this violence? Comrade Waiswa, over to you. Thank you.
I want to thank you for hosting me this afternoon on this very important issue, because it is an issue of human life. It is an issue of human dignity that is being abused by an apparatus that is supposed to be the custodian of keeping human life, but also putting into force the authorities that are supposed to make a good day living for humanity in Uganda. The word itself, abduction, is an illegal statement. To be abducted is to be is to abduct. It is to take. It's the unwilling, backward methodology of apprehension. You want to arrest because the law speaks about forms of arrest. If you're going to arrest a person who has committed a crime, that person is entitled to an attorney. That person is entitled to communication to his family that he's being arrested. That person is supposed to be even given an opportunity to present himself through what we call legal criminal summons. This can be both by police and the courts of judicature. The arresting person is supposed to present himself and his credentials to the person he's arresting. And if it is a village arrest, from the leadership of the village. Now, Comrade Masaba was picked up close by home. The chairman was never involved. He was not picked up, he was abducted. The wrongful, backward apprehension of somebody from his civil liberties by people who don't identify themselves, not as security officers. The only identification they have is guns. We live in a country that has a history of rebels. You don't know whether you have been taken by security or rebels. We have court issues that have been discussed by the militia. You all remember the Chitatas. So abduction is the illegal apprehension in an archaic and backward manner of someone, either by security, or this can be done by both security agencies, but also by private individuals, because as I have said, it is total criminality. This act of arresting someone by grabbing is totally out of order. It has been ruled out of our laws of Uganda, and you've had IGP Ochola at one time said that people who come and do such abductions should be stoned by the community, because this is a backward methodology. Now, the reason they abduct and not arrest, they abduct and not arrest because they want to create fear. That's number one. In the person that they are apprehending, they must create that atmosphere such that he's subdued to leave the struggle. It is a blackmailing technique by the dictatorships to subdue and isolate people from the struggle by that torture, because that is the act itself is psychologically torturing. Being that you are meaning your own business and somebody is apprehending you by grabbing, bundling you into a van that is not a security van, and the reason they will bundle you in such a van is because they want to expose you to torture. They want to beat you. They want to mime you. They are looking at disempowering your human dignity in all the forms that they can have, because they believe if they torture now Masaba, he will come back weak, he will come back disenfranchised, and he will stop what he has been doing. The other reason they do that is, first of all, because it is an illegality. The power of the people that has risen voices against the arrest of people because of their belonging to a particular political party or advocating for rights of others is itself criminal even by government. So government is using this as a methodology of running away from that criminality. They do an arrest and they do an abduction, they torture someone, That person is later found in government facilities, later abandoned and taken to court in a kangaroo way, thrown into prison in a kangaroo way. But the type of arrest that the abduction itself, in the act of abduction, gives them room of escapism. I wonder whether I'm being understood. It gives them room of escapism from the criminal act of abduction itself. You can imagine today, we all know that they abducted Kanata Muhammad, who presumably died in their hands. Now, they will use the style of arrest to decoy that it's not them, because they can now no longer bring back that person who has died in their hands, who they abducted. Then they will run away from the fact that they abducted him. You all know the story of Mexico. They abducted him, tortured him. Then when they brought him back and he gave his account, they later turned around the story. So it is a window of escapism from the criminal act that has been, of course, spoken about by numerous Ugandans. The young man, Mubi, who was arrested from Busoga, who is suffering in Nalfenia and all those other places, was abducted on the instructions of the mafia speaker. Now, that excess power, the excess power of our people occupying public office, is also, they use those security operatives as mercenaries to foment those powerful leaders like those in the name of the speaker to malign, to subdue dissent, because the reason he was abducted was simply because he did not agree with the theft of Anita Monk and her outreach to the public coffers, her dubious outreach to our public coffers. That person is the colleague we are talking about today. He is being arrested for expressing an opinion which is constitutionally acceptable. But because somebody has excess power and would not want the truth to come out, they would choose a person like him and leave a person like Waisa, who says it every day, to also create juxtaposition and confusion of divide amongst the people. Because if you are the speaker and somebody is blaming you for theft, go for those who are saying it on the floor of parliament, those who are saying it internationally, those who are saying it are representing political institutions, but they choose to go to our juniors to stop them, to stop the revolution from bringing up more young people with even better voices than our voices. That is also the other reason why the abduction. Joe asked me to comment on their action after the abduction. Of course, after they have abducted, which is a criminality in itself, they will have you in isolated detention, unacceptable detention. They will throw you to the court martial, which is not also acceptable, against civil rule, and all those are processes of psychological. You're going through a process of psychological and physical torture and sexual torture, harassment, if you are female or male, either way. So the bias of our people facing state anarchy through abduction is real. You have seen that abductions have gone across to members of parliament, the common people, to religious leaders, to even political party leaders. You saw how the Honorable Joel Senyoni and our Right Honorable Secretary General David Lewis were abducted and abandoned into a car. You saw how the people's president, His Excellency Robert Chagulanyi, was abducted on tarmac. So it is real, and I want to tell the country that it is, and the world, that people should not think that it is in vain. It is all done to suppress the now visible, imprinted dissent that the regime is facing out of the 40 years of ineptness and no work. So they believe that they can now catch up with that, with running escapism of abducting our people, those who are dissenting loudly, and also trying to isolate the revolution from many people joining into the fall of what we all need to do to have our country liberated.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Comrade Waiswa. Just briefly, speak to the accountability, speak to the impunity with which these perpetrators, torture, kill, Ugandans, because somebody really, we primarily are addressing or speaking to the EU audience, and they may not really understand the dynamics. Okay, somebody's arrested, but can these people even get justice? If just speak to that accountability, impunity, justice in Uganda. These are very, very serious issues, and we want our EU partners to understand that. People, those are who are working with the institutions may understand, but the common citizens in the EU do not understand this. Please give them a picture of what exactly what happens.
But by the description of the arrest being an abduction fundamentally should speak to the illegality and criminality of the act itself. It is not a day you'd want to narrate. We have people who have lost their private body organs. We have those who have lost their hands. We have those that have not made it back. We have a story of Busulwa, who was abducted from Kabowa, I think. He was a lorry driver of Chitemu Market. He was abducted. He was taken into custody with others. One of his colleagues was murdered. He was forced to drink the blood of that colleague. It later turned out that that colleague was actually also infected with HIV. And today Busulwa is languishing with HIV. His head was cut. You all remember that story. And now, if you want to understand, that can only be done when somebody has been illegally arrested. Somebody has been abducted, and it clears away the liability from those who are doing it to give them a merry day on the person that they have abducted. I have been giving you a description of Mwesigwa, who was burnt in the chest. He was all brought to our cameras. You saw all what happened to Maseruka. They have used all rudimentary torturing methods. You had a Muslim cleric who told the country of the issue of waterboarding. He was subjected to waterboarding. That issue of waterboarding, that form of torture, it is one of the most dangerous torture. Many have been subjected to electrification. Many have been subjected to, I'm told that there are also wild reptiles that are in those safe houses, and our people have been forced have been thrown into those reptiles. You can imagine if you're being thrown in a cage where you have over 5, 7, 10 snakes that are meant and trained to torture. That torture can be psychological, it can be physical. We have girls who have been raped and they have given us account. We have colleagues who have been sodomized. and they have given us these accounts. So it is really a nasty occurrence in our country. Anything that even gives you a return of dead people is a dangerous act. So to ask me describe to them what they do to those people by the mere fact that you all have seen this young man who was abducted, cut off his fingers, put nails into his hands. His name is escaping my head, the young man from Kayunga. So the torture has been and is still unequivocal. It is unprecedented. This type of unfair treatment of human beings by the state, we heard of it as we were growing up, but now I can tell the country and the world that it is times 10 on what we had, because people are abducted, we lose them, never to see them again. People are tortured to death with all those rudimentary corporal punishment, subjecting them to unending processes of hard labor in where they are being detained, being taken to military prisons, lack of a country that has generally lost its trail of the rule of law and now is working to the negativity of a dictatorship. A person affirming to the world that is about to die, you cannot expect much from. Yes. Nice seeing you, Daniel. It's been long. You're growing older.
Thank you. Yeah. Sorry, there was a bit of a glitch there. Apologies for that. Yes. Thank you very much for that very, very detailed question. It gives us a sense of what exactly happens in Uganda in terms of, the abductions, the torture that goes on, the gory details you've had. Again, no questions of accountability. Absolute impunity. That is what is expected, and that is what our people are facing, and that is why when we say that the EU partners should disengage from working with Museveni, we mean that is the justification. Comrade Hafi, how are the NUP leaders and supporters responding to these abductions, and what measures are they taking to protect themselves and their communities? Comrade Hafi?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. This is a very crucial question, because first of all, in Buganda, which says Nanyine mufu yakwate wawunya. I'm not a typical Muganda, but I'm a Ugandan, and a Muganda by heart and by living. So this, we can speak about it. When you ask about the responses of the NUP leadership, back at home, they have the human rights table whereby all these claims are being, handled. Because recently, with the issue of our comrade Masaba, you saw that the NUP human rights team went immediately when they located him. They went to check on him to see how he is doing, and from that information, that's why we got a tweet from our Secretary General trying to tell us what is going on with Faustin Masaba. This is why we see our legal team with the Shamim, Honorable Shamim Malende, we see our SG and all the legal team swinging into actions whenever there is something that comes. For example, before Comrade Masaba was brought into court, our Secretary General, together with the home or with the human rights and the legal team of the National Unity Platform, swung in to place a habeas corpus. I am not good with law, to ask the courts of Uganda to show us where Masaba is, And when this was put on to table, the regime started to panic, and in panicking, when the habeas corpus had to be heard a day before it had to be heard, they swung in to bring him to sneak him into court for cases. That our human rights table back home is working, and our legal team is also working. Whenever we people, for example, because the supporters and the NUP team back home, they work hand in hand. Whenever we make a lot of noise online, and whenever we make our leaders to know that such and such a person is being held incommunicado, we can't get to know where he or she is. Our team swings in, and I urge you back home, if you really have your comrade who has been abducted, don't keep quiet. Run to the headquarters, go to Kavule, tell the team there that my person is missing. This and this is going on, so that we can engage the party to swing into action rather than just sitting back home, Because first of all, we have to know that this government, the dictator government, is really in fear of the noise that we make on our platform, on Rujuliro, on JB Mwonge, on Comrade Chitunzi, on Jujo. Even they fear our comrade Waiswa, because he's an outspoken person, and they know that a lot of people hear what he says, and when he says something, he has a background of why he is saying it. So the more we engage the party, the headquarters, the more we engage the leadership of the National Unity Platform, and being people without fear, this can help us, to capture these people, to put them into a cocoon whereby they can't run away from our questions. Because think about it, when over 100 or over 500 people swing in to ask one question, free Masaba. Ask yourself, when all the cities in Europe, the cities in the United States of America, they stage protests because of one person, Christine Masaba. This creates a lot of pressure to the regime back home, and it can make them to do things rightly or wrongly, but basically wrongly, because into intimidation of our call because of our legal team, and they started charging our comrade with cases without background, because we did give them enough time to arrange their cases the way they want to arrange them. When Comrade Chitunzi announced that we are coming out to ask for the freedom of Masaba, they had to run in and create a case that he burnt shops, he burnt a market without evidence, So when we pressurize them, when the supporters pressurize them through making a lot of noise, through talking about them, through making lies, it creates fear, it creates panic. These people who don't have respect for human rights. It creates fear in their mindset. It creates fear in their actions. And when they act with panic, it creates for us space to question them more on how they are handling issues. But over and over, I would only tell you that the NUP party back home is making what it has to do. taking the legal form of it. And us as the supporters, and us as leaders in the diaspora who are not on ground back home, what we can do is to do a lot of noise, is to make the world know that such and such a person is being held without anything that is right or in the right direction. So that is how basically it is. And I yield back to you, Comrade Joe.
Thank you very much, Comrade Mugisha, for that submission. Indeed, I think let me just please come in, Comrade Waso.
I want to thank your comrade for his extremely very good submission. And yes, as a party, it is part of the regime's policy to overwhelm us. They would want to overwhelm us. They would want to have us incapacitated. If you are having your people arrested every minute, if you are having to run for bail, if you are supposed to run to this court, run to the other court, then you are overstretched from actually working out on the real issues. Now you can imagine NUP is the only political party that every day there is a person, known or unknown, that has been abducted by the state in the countryside or even in the cities. So we have a big task, and that is why struggling and fighting this revolution to its finality is the last solution to whatever we are going through, because it is now part of their style to estopel the revolution by doing those abductions. It's not something that will stop until when we present to the country the good news that finally M7 has fallen. So as a party, we have come to understand it, but we have also taken on the brave mind of moving forward as we fight for ours that have been arrested, not stopping to go forward, because we understood that all this is done to derail us. That is why we want to have the revolution more and more empowered by the people themselves, because once it is a people power centered revolution, then all that is playing cat and mouse. You can't stop the revolution from happening. So as a party, we have a legal team, we have a welfare team. The welfare team, we have a human rights desk, we have a robust group of young men and women who work day and night on investigating, collecting intelligence and data on where our colleagues can be, because also that helps us so much. When you are going to court for habeas corpus, you must habeas corpus is a document that is subjected. It is a subject. It's a document. It is a ruling of court that subjects government to bring a person dead or alive before the courts of law after 48 hours. So to do all that, to file your habeas corpus, to go ahead and engage the people, you must definitely have an intelligence team. We were aware of how he was abducted. It was a lure from his family member, because trust, as you realize, is not something you will find anywhere here. They want to use our family members, they want to use our friends, they want to use our social status as such that they can affect their evil mind. So the party is it is overspread even financially, because those legal processes need money. Whether you are having people like Shamim Malende, but it's transport facilitation, it's a process. You all know the Uganda we are living in, and the state believes that that is part of their methodology still of having us isolated, because if you're having a party with over 2,000, 3,000 people in cells that are with your responsibility, then it becomes extremely very hard for you to move forward on the core issues. But I thank the leadership, I thank the Ugandans that we have not stopped, we have not withered. As we are fighting for Masaba, we are also saying Museveni should go. We are also looking at the corruption of the speaker, because we have a lot to do. The business of removing genome 7 after 40 years is just business that you will not finish on the plate. It's real business.
Thank you very much, Comrade Wassa, for that addendum. And indeed, you're right. We're operating in a very, very difficult environment. All the institutions are under capture, whether we are talking about the judiciary, whether it's the military, whether it's the police, they're all corrupt, and they're all just driving Museveni's agenda, that is of entrenching the regime and ensuring its survival. So we're operating under very, very difficult conditions and with very limited resources. So this is what our people in the EU need to know. We're operating under very, very difficult conditions. So getting justice for our people remains a big, big problem. Challenges are really enormous. But that is what it is. And again, we're doing what we can to change things. Yes, audience, after this phase, we do I hear echoes? I don't know. Yes, we really, please get your questions ready. We would like to engage you after this phase. After this phase of questions, we want to engage the audience. So feel free to call in and ask your questions. But now we're carrying on. Yes, how do these abductions affect overall political climate and prospects for democratic progress in Uganda? Because clearly things cannot remain the same. Comrade Robert Kitunzi, if you may, please, what is your take on that? How do all these occurrences affect the political climate and the democratic progress in the country?
Oh, good question. A lot of us say that we're not in active politicians, but which in a sense is true, but you can't be politically conscious. But I would think, in all honest, if we are to drive and run a smooth government, I think it is important that all institutions work. And for all institutions to work in any civilized society, the democratic practice has to be in place, whereby there's rule of law, where there's freedom of speech, where there's a lot of these facets are, which a democratic society revolves around. So I would think that if we're to move forward as a nation, we really need to get to the drawing board to see what brought us where we are. What brought us where we are is because
an institutional framework in running against these illegalities. Of course, we are members of the Rome Statute. We are also subjective to the Global Wild Human Rights Charter, Declaration of Human Rights, the Vienna Declaration of Human Rights. We are members of that. We signed, we ended our signature, and now that is one of the aspects of being a member of the UN and all those other global institutions we are part of. Basically, to monitor human rights, every country by law is required, first of all, to have a human rights body that is mandated by the Constitution to oversee the actions of the state over its citizenry in terms of respect of human rights and decorum. And then we also supposed to have the police and government as the custodian of these people's rights that they lead. However, the unfortunate part in Uganda, the bad news is that there is no rule of law. The rule of law has been usurped by the longevity of the dictatorship. It's all about how many more years you're going to be ruled by General Museveni. It's all about whether you'll accept to be handed over to the son, and that is what gives your human right to live, your human right to a sense of belonging, to belong. If you do not belong in either of that, then you're not a human being in Uganda, and therefore all your rights will be negated to the affirmation of those that are in power. So the institutions that were supposed to protect have now, if you look at the institution like the Human Rights Commission in Uganda, is now a cadre institution. Those who have worked well with Museveni, those who have failed elections, are the people that they will send to the commission, to the commissioners. So politicians now, they are appreciated for their changing stance from government. If you are a politician and you no longer you are in the opposition and you're no longer throwing it at them, they can throw you there. We have people they have thrown there. If you are a member of parliament, we all know Smell Nsubuga. You remember Smell Nsubuga? Smell Nsubuga today is a commissioner of the Human Rights Commission in Uganda. Just imagine if that's the modus of appointment, and all these people are subject to the appointing authority, who is the dictator himself. So the reporting system is also, the institutional reporting system by the commission is also archaic. You had her at a certain point saying that she could not even herself ascertain her security because members on her board were armed. So it is a big challenge to talk about institutions in Uganda, talk about rule of law. All these have been usurped by the dictatorship, and for any Ugandan to think that their systems, in fact, the abductions and illegal arrests are being fought against by the people, by the power of the people, by these programs that we are holding, by the continued robust speaking up against this ugly, archaic, and backward behavior by the state. So for one to think that there are systems in Uganda, no, there are no systems. It's just a wake up by the citizenry that can fight this backward but Well, in fact, the torture, the abduction in Uganda, I can tell you without contradiction that they are now purely institutionalized by General Museveni's security apparatus.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That other question, I don't know whether I have answered it. I answered the one of rule of law and institutionalization. I would beg your pardon on the other one.
Yeah, the other one was we're just wondering. I know this is a bit hard, but how many individuals have been abducted, and what is their current status? So, are there any efforts being made to locate and release them? I know this is a bit hard, given the money in which yes.
We have about 50 known persons abducted. And these, as you remember, the 33, these are names that are overlapping over a certain period of time that we are aware of. But as you remember, as we were talking about 33, we did not know about Masaba, that he will be abducted. So, as I said, it is also difficult to have a definitive number because it is happening across the country. It is happening in Busoga, it is happening in Western, in Imbarara, it is happening in Gulu. It is an institutional modus operandi by the security operatives. So to give you a blanket number, I would be lying. But I can tell you we have over 2,000 young men and women languishing in prisons. Our effort for freeing of political prisoners, our effort of going to court despite having less hope because of the influence by the state. Just imagine the way Masaba was smuggled into court. So smuggling prisoners into court is also unheard of. It is unconstitutional. So it is important that as Ugandans realize that this act of abducting people is ongoing. We cannot even give you, because as I speak now, somebody may be being abducted yesterday, being abducted now as I speak now, and I'm just going to get the details later after this show. So we have those are imprinted over 33. You know the 33, the team that is being persecuted in the general court martial. We have those that have been put elsewhere. We have those that are going to the that were going to Katwe, those who are abducted after 6th May. We have a group of those that are led with my very young brother, Umar Magala. So the abductions won't stop. But I can tell you that many young men and women are languishing in the dungeons of this morally decayed government.
Thank you very much, Comrade. I know that Dr. Nico has been compiling a victims database, and according to the figures, the numbers are up to, it is 2,804.
Sure.
However, this includes illegal arrests, and here there is a problem of definition of political prisoners and abductions, but that is the number, which we can say. I mean, this is well documented. So the numbers are high.
I can tell you, if you went to Chitalia prison and you interrogated 75% of the people in that prison, you'll realize that all those are political prisoners. There is a time when they said that Chico had been built for NUP. So it is very unfortunate, and across all the country. And these political prisoners should also not be limited to those that have been arrested during the time of the National Unity Platform. There are prisoners who are still in cells from way back, from the 80s when these people took over power. There are those that are still in cells that have been an orchestration by this very regime. So it is something we must fight. It is a vice that we must stop, but we can only stop it by ending the existence of this rebel group.
Thank you very much, comrade. So what we can, our takeaway from that is justice remains very elusive for many people, and we need to fight to really change this. Yes, our final question goes to Comrade Hafi. What support mechanisms are needed for victims and survivors of human rights abuses in Uganda? Of course, including access to legal assistance, medical care, and psychosocial support. Over to you, Comrade Mugi, please. Thank you.
Yeah, I thank you very much, Joe, for that spark question delivered to me about the support that we can give to the victims. First of all, we have different types of support. We have what we may call moral support. We have what we call financial support. We have the legal support. And we also, basically, I will tackle the three because they are the major ones that we can deliver. First of all, with the moral support. Moral support goes with the psychological issue effect. They work hand in hand because moral is more of behavior. So basically, when someone is abducted, or when someone is held incommunicado, or when someone is held in a way that is not really in the line of law, his family back home is left in a format whereby this person, his family is tortured psychologically, and this person also, by since he's been taken to a place where he doesn't know, and he doesn't know what is happening back home, this person is also tortured psychologically and morally. So we as the supporters and the team back home of the National Unity Platform, we should support them morally in a way of visiting their families and telling them that everything will be fine. The party is with you. We the people as the leaders on the village level, we shouldn't leave the thing to only the national level that Waiswa, Honorable Waiswa or Honorable Joel is the one to go down to the families. No. NUP has leaders on local councils, village councils. So it should be a collective force, whereby also this chairman back home carry this mantle to visit the family. Because if you're a mayor of where Masaba comes from, it mandates you to go to his family and talk to them on behalf of the party and ask them, how can we help you? To calm them down. By creating this, it creates a moral uplift to our comrade to know that I have support from my party. Everything will be all right. Out to support. For example, Comrade Masaba and the 33 and the over 200, they have families. Comrade Olivia is a mother of two. He was taking care of some children, you know. Comrade Faustin was taking care of some people. So we should put it in mind that when they are not in a picture, there's some people who are facing financial constraints. We as people in the diaspora, what we can do is collect some financial support if we can make it. And when we do this, we can deliver this to the families or to the political party. And when we deliver this to the political party back home, they can, offer this support to the families. This small financial support can help take back children to school, buy books. We in the diaspora, we can, because the least we can are making noise about what is happening. So we can focus more on more of the financial support. How can we collect some small financial support, send it back to the to our headquarters, and our headquarters has a list and knows how to offer this support to different families of the abducted members. And another issue I will talk about, it would be the legal support, which I would appreciate my political party back home, because without any cost, because court cost is a little bit more expensive in Uganda. It is not like here in Europe or in the USA that every person is liable to have legal support. Even if they tell you in Uganda that you have a right to a lawyer will ask some money from your family. When they come to court, he will take them back and tell them to process your case. But with the support of the National Unity Platform, we haven't had anything like the Council of National Unity Platform is asking money from the families. This is a tick to our political party, that it is offering this legal support to people who come and register their cases to the headquarters, who come to the human rights desk and say, our person is missing. And this helps to coordinate and help our political party to handle these cases with due diligence. This legal support, it creates more of hope. It can be linked more to the moral support. That if someone knows that there is a group of lawyers, liable lawyers that I can trust, that are taking, on they are taking on my case, this person will be back in the cell. We have a team which is pursuing freedom. And more so when as I conclude this part that you have given me, for example, me and Comrade Chitunzi and you, Joe, who sit on the executive, the European chapter of the National Unity Platform, we have a long way to do some things in a way of creating meetings with these offices in our different countries. The foreign affairs, the homeland security, the homeland whatever. We have to create meetings with these people and give them lists of these people and tell them that our people are being tortured, our people are being held in a way that doesn't respect the human rights and the rule of law. By meeting these people, at least by giving them the name, they can link these lists back to their embassies and their consulates back home. And their consulates may take up from there, because as Comrade Weiss was saying, we are signatory to different charters of human rights. It means that these countries, if they are dealing directly with the government of Uganda, they have the right to question the human rights cases of Uganda. Leave alone the government sending away the Human Rights Commission office from the country because the Human Rights Watch was watching every step they were doing. But it remains that they have the authority to question the government of Uganda in regards to the human rights, in regards to the abduction, in regards to the abuse of the rule of law. I yield back to you, Comrade Joe.
Thank you very much for your answer, Comrade. Yes, indeed, even we in the diaspora, even people in Uganda, it is important.
gwe mulamwa gwa kulaba nga twekwatirako tusobole okugoba lunnakyemalira nga bannaffe bafuna obuzibu tubakwasizaako tweyambayambera wamu basobole obuvaamu bakomewo ku lutabaalo tulumbe nakyemalira paka lwe tunamujja mu ntebe naye nga n'emisango egiri mu kkooti ensi yonna obujulizi twongera okubutwalayo n'otwongera okunyiga abasajja abo nti bannange mulinda ki twabawa omusango gwaffe General Museveni akwatibwa ddi nti bannange muleke okuwa omusajja ssente omusajja mutemu bamuwa ensimbi aziwambamu bantu abatta abantu baffe akola kino na kino nga tukulira baganda baffe listi z'abo abawambiddwa abuziddwa atumanyiddwako mayitire nga tuzitwala mu basajja ababa Museveni ensimbi nga bamanya nti ensimbi ze bamuwa atazikozesa kukola bikolobero ku bannayuganda ekyo tulina okikola nga tuli ffenna gwe nange era nga tukolera wamu tusobole okutaasa ensi yaffe mbagala nnyo mwenna abaliko mwebale kubaako dundagana nabwire kasamba kumire tujja kuba tuddamu